Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and yeah, you've seen the title. Yes, today we're going to be talking about the 3DS and how it's basically come to the end of its life now. It's lasted way longer than I ever thought it would. This little thing is an absolute trooper, but it's kind of over. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. The first thing I want to talk about is the list of upcoming games. Now, I thought to myself, I can't really think of any games that haven't come out yet for the 3DS that are going to be really big hitters or anything like that. The only thing I could think of was Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, which I'm sure is a lovely game, but it's not exactly going to set the world on fire, is it? So I went on the Nintendo website, the official Nintendo.com website thing on the internet, using the keyboard and I had a look at what they had on there, and I couldn't see many games, and so I thought, okay, let's go to the proper big full list of new games coming to the Nintendo Switch. I said Switch. Coming to the 3DS that haven't already been released, and, well, let me just show you the state that the website is currently in. 6 games. 6 games total. One of them is an expansion for Shovel Knight. I mean, it's going to be its own standalone thing as well, and fair play to them for, sort of going as far as to, keep putting it out on the 3DS like they promised they would. A couple of, sort of smaller budget indie games, which I'm sure, could absolutely be lovely, but, not exactly heavy hitters. And then you've got one game, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a detective game, and it's actually been out for a while, and for some reason it's still listed as TBD on Nintendo's website, and I have absolutely no idea why. Then we've got Yokai Watch 3, which is coming out at the time of recording tomorrow, and Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn. And that's it. Is it actually Extra Epic Yarn? I didn't actually check. Now, call me old-fashioned, call me some stick in the mud, or just say wait for E3 or anything like that, but that doesn't exactly suggest to me a particularly well-supported system. When you look at the upcoming games for the Switch, and yes, I know, you could argue, well, a lot of them are third parties and a lot of them are going to be indie games, and it's like, yeah, but the games are still coming out, they're still existing. The poor old 3DS, though, no. It's got nothing. And I know I rag on the 3DS a lot in these in videos that I do, but it is born out of love. I do love this little system. I love it like I like all older Nintendo hardware, and I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but it really is reaching the point where it is. 6 games, one of which is already out. Come on. I know it's really, really big in Japan. The 3DS is still absolutely enormous, and you could argue that realistically, why would they stop supporting it? Well, because, it's a system of limited appeal when you compare it to the lovely thing that is the Nintendo Switch. And I know there are a lot of people out there who may own a 3DS like this and think that they don't want a Switch. Why would they want them? They're happy with their 3DS, and that's fine, absolutely. There are so many games on here, I'm absolutely certain you can continue playing this for another 5-10 years and still not play all the games worth playing. But in terms of the guts and the hardware and everything, it doesn't really have anything over the Switch. And, I'm sort of going in this with the idea that the rumors about the Switch Mini type thing that's been rumored, here's a quick recap, are true, or at least have some sort of grounds in reality, because I do think Nintendo will do revisions of the Nintendo Switch, and I do think that a Switch Mini will be used to replace this little sucker. Let's look at it another way. Okay, so imagine if, for example, you don't have a 3DS, or there's somebody out there who wants a Nintendo gaming system and doesn't have a 3DS. They're looking at the current ones, they're seeing 3DS and Switch, and they sort of say, wow, the 3DS, it's so cheap, 2DS, really cheaper. In fact, I got one of them now. Look at it, it's dusty and knackered as hell. I got it basically broken on eBay. The digitizer doesn't work. Yeah, it's basically knackered. I told myself I was going to repair this and I never got around to it. But I've got it. But I mean, you can pick up one of these for 99 quid or $99, whatever the hell you like, a pitiful amount of money compared to a Switch, which is essentially 250 quid upwards. It's more like, well, it's like $300, give or take. You might find it better on a sale. So for a third of the price, you can get a Nintendo system with a load of great games on it. So you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't you get one? There's no competition. But then you've also got to take into account the fact that the hardware inside this thing is old. Like, nowadays, it is really old. It is really, really basic. I can't remember the exact resolution of the screen, but it's not even 480p. It's so low resolution. And, you know, I know it's not all about the resolution. It's not all about the graphics, but come on! The Switch can do 1080p on a big screen. It can also do 720p on its own screen. I honestly don't know why you would go for this in terms of graphics. But then again, you could argue maybe, you know, sort of the games are better. You know, you got Pokemon and stuff on here. Absolutely, you do. But Pokemon is not only already out on the Switch in the form of things like Let's Go. I know that's not a mainline game, don't worry, we're not going down that rabbit hole today. But the mainline Pokemon games are coming out on the Switch. There's one coming out this year, the year of 2019, which is this year. The gimmick of the Switch is that you can take it anywhere, and I suppose maybe the Switch does lose a few points in terms of portability, because you can kind of put it in a bag, but really it needs a case, whilst this or this, you can just bung in a bag, it'll be fine, and it's nice and small. This one's smaller. By how much? Not a fair bit, actually. But then when you get home, you can play your already far advanced games beyond anything the 3DS can do, stick it into a TV, have a load of friends, you can do proper multiplayer on it. It is just a much more up-to-date, a much more versatile system. That's obvious, or at least I bloomin' hope it is. I think the main appeal for the 3DS for Nintendo, the reason they kept supporting it, was the attachment rate, or attach rate, or however many people bought it and owned it, is what I'm trying to say. Because this thing sold like bloody hotcakes, to say the least. And, you know, there are so many people out there that still play them every single day. More power to you, have more fun with your 3DS. But the Switch is selling like even hotter cakes. Like, seriously now, isn't it like the fastest selling system ever? Or something like that. I mean, it's definitely going to be up there, my lord. I mean, it sold out the Wii U's entire lifetime sales in about, what was it? It was like 6 months, maybe even less than that. It was absolute insanity. The Switch has captured people's imaginations. So many people have Switches. Okay, arguably more people have 3DSs, but the system's not, you know, new enough to run modern games, and the Switch can just about make it. Okay, yeah, you know, sort of things don't run as nicely as they would on a PS4 Pro or anything like that, but when you can take it on the go, who gives a damn? Some people. The 3DS absolutely still has its appeals, and it absolutely still has a place just generally for playing games. But its time is pretty much up now. I mean, honestly, I predicted the 3DS would not last anywhere near this long. Like, this little sucker is a bloody trooper. It's just kept going and going and going. And I absolutely have to laud it for that. It's absolutely fantastic. Nintendo have done brilliantly with their support and bringing out games, you know, even just, you know, ports and things like that. Luigi's Mansion on 3DS, and you've got, you know, Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn and stuff like that. They're taking GameCube games, Wii games, and they even took it with, like, Xenoblade Chronicles and put it on this thing. So fair play to them. They really supported this way beyond what anyone should have expected. But with only 5 games on the horizon and everyone talking about the Switch, and the Switch not just being a home system, the Switch can just out and out replace the 3DS. I mean, yes, it only has one screen, but realistically there weren't that many games on the 3DS that really took advantage of that and really made proper use of it that couldn't be done by going into a menu or pressing a button. I'd say the only thing the 3DS does just ever so slightly have over the Switch is, well, I suppose portability and battery life. And if Nintendo do make a Switch Mini, well, they should probably be able to solve those two problems, at least the portability aspect, because it should be smaller. There'll no doubt be people that will buy this, you know, years into the future, and that's absolutely fine. You know, you'll get all the videos appear on YouTube saying, I bought a 3DS in 2020, and people are going to be like, okay. And that's fine, you know, the 3DS will live on eventually as a retro system, but right now, it's just kind of old, isn't it? It's just kind of old. I had so much fun with this thing, it's completely unreasonable, but all good things must come to an end. And for the 3DS, I think we're pretty much there. You know, I can't even remember the last time we covered the 3DS on this channel. We've done so on the website, you know, with reviews and things like that for really major games. But realistically, it's time to move on. You know, all good things must come to an end. And for the 3DS, and the 2DS by lesser extension, That time is now. The moment Nintendo comes out with a more portable version of one of these, we can wave goodbye to the 3DS. It's not quite there yet, but it's definitely on its last legs. And it's served an admirable purpose, and it's been a wonderful, sort of arguably last hurrah for Nintendo, at least for the time being, for dedicated portable units, because the Switch isn't, mate. So yeah, this is the end of the Game Boy line for now. I mean, you could argue it wasn't part of the Game Boy line to begin with, but that felt like a nice way to round it out. So I said it anyway. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you shout to that subscribe button in a slightly bittersweet tone, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching, and thank you for being a friend. Bye-bye. And for the 3DS and the 2DS by lesser extension, that time is now. Hello, Blair.